Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. The undefeated American fighter Stephan has announced on his Instagram that he'll be facing the also undefeated Jermaine Franklin in a battle of American fighters on April the 22nd. So see here on screen, so this is from his Instagram. So Stephan Big Shot Shaw says, "It's official. I want everyone to tune in live on NBC Sports Ring City USA series on April 22nd in West Point, New York. I will be headlining the card. Stephan Big Shot Shaw versus fellow undefeated American Jermaine Franklin, 14-0 versus 20-0. This is a fight you don't want to miss, and I want everyone to tune in. God has blessed me with another opportunity to display my talent to the world, and this fight will put me that much closer to my ultimate goal of becoming heavyweight champion of the world. I will reign supreme. Victory is mine. All praise be to God. More news will be announced soon via press release. Hashtag Team Big Shot, hashtag Reign Supreme." So Stephan there jumping the gun ahead of the press release process and announcing the fight with Franklin on his social media. So what do I make of this? This is a very good fight. I think there's been quite a number of fringe US contenders and also prospects that have been looking for meaningful domestic fights in the United States and not really getting them. On one side, you have Stephan who, while he's only 14-0, he's actually been pro since 2013. So it's a little hard to call him a prospect because he's been a pro for so long. He just hasn't really been that active. And for the first 5 years of his career, he didn't really have that many fights each year. It was basically, a couple of fights, 3 fights max. Obviously, since the pandemic, things have slowed down a little bit. Just the one fight in 2020. But he's already featured on Ring City USA. He was last seen in December 2020, and he was against Lubomir Pinchuk, and that was actually a really fun fight. That was one of the earlier Ring City cards. So it's another good avenue for American fighters now that Ring City has the series. It's on NBC, and we have been getting some really competitive matchups. You may have seen a couple of the cards. They've actually resulted in some really good main events. So for me, I think this is a good fight, and I'm looking forward to it because you also have Franklin 20-0. He's long been saying, look, I'm the best American heavyweight prospect coming up, and while he's got a 20-0 record at the moment, maybe it's a little hard to sort of say that he's a prospect, but he's a guy that's been looking for a breakthrough moment, and maybe this could be it, because he has been in some fights in the past 2 years where he hasn't necessarily looked that impressive despite winning. Arguably, 1 or 2 of them, you could have said that he lost, and he's been a little bit bitter on social media when people have, obviously said these things about Rydell Booker and Jerry Forrest. He's been like, look, I won those fights. I'm the best American prospect. Yada, yada, yada. I'm going to be a heavyweight champion. Let me all show you. So this is another opportunity for him to prove the doubters wrong, to actually put on a good performance and show us why he believes that he is the best guy out there, ahead of all others at the moment. I think my number one prospect coming out of the United States would not be Jermaine Franklin, rather it would be Jared Anderson, but Anderson's at an earlier stage in his career. I mean, guys like Stephan and also Jermaine Franklin, who've been pro for some considerable time, haven't really had a breakthrough, as it were. But just between the two fighters, so Franklin, he turned pro in 2015, and Stephan 2013, yet Franklin's had 7 more fights so far. But Stephan is just a little bit bigger. He's got a reach advantage of 4 inches over Jermaine Franklin. He's 6'4" compared to 6'2", and I do think that he does have a power advantage as well. This is sure. So this is going to be interesting for a few reasons, and I think the style matchup could end up proving quite good. It could be conducive to a sort of a high-octane affair. Jermaine Franklin does like to engage, but his sort of issue, as I see it, he never really seems to change up what he does. He sort of fights at the same pace. It's the same sort of punches, same, sort of rhythm and pace through the fight. So once you sort of start clocking onto that, as some guys like Jerry Forrest, Rodale Booker, and even to an extent Pavel Sauer, who's not great, but he was able to sort of fall into what Jermaine Franklin does, the pattern in how he fights, able to last the distance in the end. He was dropped late in that fight, but he still survived. And when you consider guys like Filip Hrgovic, Hughie Fury had banged out Pavel Sauer, early, it didn't look great that Franklin sort of laboured to a decision against Pavel Sauer. Not laboured, but, it just kind of was a bit underwhelming. And everything I've seen from Franklin so far in the past couple of years, as a guy who claims to be the best American sort of prospect or contender out there, he just hasn't quite delivered. So this is his opportunity to shine and show us what he can really do. And I think if he can't perform well against Stephan Shaw, well, some people will certainly question the ceiling. And for sure, because he has been relatively inactive, this is a chance for him to break through, because he has been toiling through in obscurity. 14-0 at the moment, almost 8 years or so as a pro. It's time for him, especially at 28 years old, to get that breakthrough moment. As he says, that he's another step closer to a title if he can beat Jermaine Franklin. Probably a few steps away, but certainly this is a step. And I would favour him slightly in this fight. I do believe in his talent. I think he is a very talented fighter. And that fight against Lubomir Pinchuk, very fun and entertaining. And both these guys like to sort of mix it up a bit. So I think this is going to be a style matchup where it does gel well and there could be some good action. Possibly one or the other could be hurt or dropped, but I would be favouring Stephan Shaw heading into this one. But this is a moment for Shaw to sort of come out of the shadows a little bit. He did sign on with Lou DiBella back in 2018. That has given him some opportunities, a la against Gregory Corbin, for example, Lubomir Pinchuk, even Donovan Dennis. But he just hasn't had that moment that's really going to catapult him into more of the sort of mainstream boxing consciousness. And because he'll be headlining this card, and it is going to have some eyeballs on him, and probably a decent viewership too, this is a good moment for him, but also for Franklin to get that profile sort of to a more broader audience. But I like this fight. How about you? What do you make of it all? Who do you favour and why? Drop a comment. Loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.